Hello everybody and welcome back to Tima podcast. Happy Boxing Day and Merry Christmas. I wish you all the best, hope you're all doing very well. And of course the Premier League does not stop, and in fact it's going and things are getting very interesting. Let's have a look at what was going on last weekend and where things are at in the Premier League. As always, a genuine, authentic fan opinion from me. I'm just a fan like you, so let's get into it and really see what is going on. What is going on in the Premier League? I think the talking point of the weekend will be Liverpool beating Spurs 6-3 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Well, let's talk about Spurs, because Spurs are quite something. They're quite a unique team. There's a reason why people use the term Spursism, which I don't particularly like, but I think it might be true in some ways. So, the thing about Spurs, right? They have scored the most goals in the Premier League. They have conceded 25 goals, which is kind of a lot when you compare it to Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea. But it is less than Villa, City and Brighton, who are all above Spurs. And Spurs sit 11th place in the Premier League. So things are looking very bad for Spurs. And the question is why? Why is Ange Postecoglou's system not working? Why are Spurs being humbled by Ipswich? Why are they being humbled by Chelsea? By Arsenal, by Liverpool? What's going on? What's going on with Spurs? And you might remember in one of the previous episodes, I put forward my kind of Ange theory as to why I think Ange Postecoglou is kind of necessary for Spurs, because Spurs needed someone like him. Because Spurs needs the right character and personality, and Ange has that. He has that winner's mentality in him, and he exemplified this behavior last season when Spurs lost 2-0 at home to City, when quite controversially, their fans wanted Spurs to lose so that City would win and then Arsenal would not win the title. And Ange Postecoglou was very frustrated and very angry at that, even saying that he learned a lot about the club and a lot about people inside and outside the club. After this whole incident, some fans were basically chanting, saying lose the game. So he was very frustrated. He clearly has this desire to win. He has said that he always wins trophies in the second year. He has been adamant about his style of play, this attacking style of football, where the fullbacks will push forward, the entire team is attacking, you've got two centre-backs covering the back, and it has been a high risk and unfortunately low reward strategy because they are in 11th place. It's not all too bad because yes, they are in 11th place with 24 points. They are only 4 points off City, who are in 7th, so it's not all too bad. It is still a salvageable season. They are in the semi-final of the League Cup, which is very impressive for Spurs. Definitely a chance to pick up a trophy to end the kind of Spursism theory. And also the Europa League, where if they are, obviously, I would assume they're not going to finish in the bottom drop down area. They will maybe finish in the top 8, or maybe in the other kind of 24 to 9 bracket where they will have to play a playoff game. So Spurs have a season to go ahead, but the question is, will they get it right? Because I will still the argument for Ange is that he's the right guy for them. He has shown this right mentality to fix Spurs. The thing with Spurs, it's not a question of one manager. They've had a long time, right? 15 years, more than 15 years of no trophies. They've spent more than 100 years without a league title. And year after year, they're trying to find this right mentality. They need to build a team to win. And in the past, they tried to get other managers and essentially get another winning team by getting Conte and Mourinho. So they tried to bring in winning mentality and buy it basically. However, this approach did not really work because Conte and Mourinho were incompatible with Spurs. And naturally, that's probably a reason why in the end, neither manager worked out. And that's why what you need at Spurs is you need someone to build a team that will win, to build and cultivate a mentality over a period of time. As much as Mauricio Pochettino will be well regarded at Spurs, I don't think he ever had that mentality to win in the first place. He was a decent manager, but he was not a winner. And Ange Postecoglou is a winner. He's won stuff, and don't disrespect, the Japanese league. Don't disrespect what he did at Celtic. Undeniably, he has a mentality to win, and he shows it. I think that this arrogance is sort of annoying because I think a lot of people don't like the way he behaves in the press conferences, but in some ways that's kind of part of who he is. I would say he has kind of toned it down a little bit. He needs to take a little bit more responsibility, and he has. Fair enough. He's trying to protect his team, saying, I take responsibility. So he is the right mentality. I don't think there's a question about that. And furthermore, I would still kind of stick by my Ange theory, where essentially my point is that Spurs need to go through this tough time. They need to go through a tough time. They need to go through the pain now, because building a system is not an easy process. It is not something that you're going to magically do in one day. You will have to go through some pain in the beginning, but then gain in the future. And in some ways, maybe you need those tough times, those defeats, to train those players, to get them to work and to get them winning. So I would agree that Ange has to stick by his system to some degree, because if he switches to something else, then how do you go to a winning system? You have to kind of start with a winning system. So I see the logic in that. And with Spurs, in some ways, this shock therapy might be quite effective for the team to kind of get them working, get them playing, get them to a high intensity. And they are capable of playing good football. So the idea is that they will be able to achieve good things in the future. However, there are also obvious tactical failings with Ange Postecoglou. So quite clearly, the corners, very poor. They're conceding lots of goals from set pieces. In general, the defending is very, very poor. And we saw against Liverpool how there was a complete defensive breakdown. The scoreline doesn't tell you the full story. Liverpool could have had more, easily more, 6, 7, 8 maybe, because we missed quite a number of 1v1s, for instance, Diaz and Szoboszlai. So, undeniably, Spurs have a defensive problem. And this whole idea of, fullbacks go forward, midfielders go forward, there's no proper midfield cover, the attackers are forward, and then you've got two centre-backs in Archie Gray and Draguzian trying to defend against Liverpool. From the very get-go, this made no sense. You're playing an 18-year-old central midfielder at centre-back and expecting him to defend against Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz, who are all in brilliant form. Salah has got 18 goals across all comps this season. So how do you defend against it? You need to defend, and that's exactly what they did not do. They decided to just keep attacking. And in some ways, attacking brought them benefits. They scored 3 goals, but in the end, you got battered 6-3, and you conceded 3 goals at home. It's not the first time you've been battered. You are still doing very poorly in terms of you are 11th place. You are 11th place. And sure, you've got a 14 goal difference. Sure, you've scored a lot of goals, but fundamentally, I think that there's a point at which Ange potentially crossed the border. From trying to stick to a system and have the right mentality, he's now gone to the point of being stubborn and just blatantly making tactical errors. Like, that is not normal. This is you cannot write this down to style of play or something like that. Basic defending skills are necessary. Building a team that can defend is an absolute must, and clearly that's something Spurs cannot do. And I still think that they will have a struggling season. I think they will lose to Liverpool in the semi-finals of the League Cup, because we can see so far Spurs are consistently inconsistent. As ironic as that sounds, it's a bit of an oxymoron, but they're just so inconsistent. Sometimes the style of play works, sometimes it doesn't. And that has been the story for the past year. Those first 10 games he had for Spurs last season were just like this initial spike. Since then, it's all been kind of a similar story of inconsistency. And even worse, it's gotten worse this season for them, because more injuries, no Romero, no Van de Ven, no Vicario, no Bentancur. Obviously, though, that has really impacted the team, and it's already made the defense more fragile, even though it was fragile before with the best 11. So yeah, I think that Spurs are in trouble, and Ange needs to change. He will definitely have the season to keep working. Like, I don't think he's under pressure to be sacked. However, if he continues to ignore defending and just attacking, this will not work. He needs to make some adaptation, make some adjustments, and be a little bit more pragmatic. Because, for instance, Arne Slot, this is an example of tactical genius. You have a style of play. You bring in the style of play. Your style of play is phenomenal. Possession football. Kill the game with passing. But, when needed, we can sit back. Chelsea at home, at Anfield, we have 40% possession. We win the game 2-1. We take our chances. That is called being pragmatic. You need to sometimes adjust your tactics. This does not mean you're betraying your strategy. It only means that you are just using some adaptations to make yourself better. And that is what separates a decent manager who's got a style of play and a really good manager who's got a style of play. So kind of Ange Postecoglou has to make that step up. But speaking of Liverpool, of course, 4 points clear, game in hand. What can I say? I mean, look, I don't even have to talk about the result. It speaks for itself. We battered Spurs 6-3, and it could have easily been way more. It was a brilliant game. At no point did I feel concerned that we would not win. It should have been an even easier game for us, if I'm being honest. We kind of let Spurs back in the game at 5-3, but then finished it off at the end to make it 6-3. And I'd like to use this time just to say, Mo Salah is the best player in the world. This is not a debate. He has to win the Ballon d'Or this season if he keeps going like this. And I'm not saying this as a biased Liverpool fan. No, I'm not even being biased here. Purely objectively, across all competitions in 24 games, he's got 18 goals and 15 assists. He's got 15 goals and 11 assists in the Premier League. He has scored or assisted in 11 out of 22 Premier League and Champions League games. This guy has literally been brilliant every single game. Every single game he does something. Be that scoring a great goal, be that getting assists, he gets everything. He has elevated his style of play to a level where we have never seen before. He has gone from being a brilliant attacker who is running down the channels and scoring goals to being a brilliant overall round player. And right now, I would say he's one of the most complete players in the world. He has shooting abilities. He can score brilliant goals. Can I remind you, Brighton this season, boom, in the far corner, he can score brilliant goals. Excellent finishing. Arsenal, clever finish in the bottom corner. Brilliant finishing. He can get phenomenal assists. Over time, keeps on getting these assists. Chips on the outside of the foot. Assists for Gakpo against Man City. He can get the assist easy. Then he can also have this kind of running ability. He can run down the channels. He can dribble past players. He's still very pacey. He's very strong. He's just such a smart player. He can pick out passes as if he's Kevin De Bruyne. If you actually watch some of the assists he gets, this is reaching a point where he is actually KDB-esque. I'm not saying he's KDB, but he is reaching a point where he's a De Bruyne-esque passer in terms of the quality of the passes is phenomenal. And he's actually so unselfish. 15 assists in 24 games. What a phenomenal season. And also, he's the first ever Premier League player to get to 10 goals and 10 assists before Christmas. Phenomenal. And he's already going in Liverpool all-time goal scoring charts. Phenomenal. Already going for the Premier League ones. He's already passed Beckham in terms of assists. So, look, this guy is absolutely phenomenal. He's making history. I really hope they get their contract sorted out because what can I say? Against Spurs, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's simply a top player. And Liverpool in general, I think obviously we're enjoying being top. One question to kind of potentially ask is, are we a little bit concerned? Should we be concerned? Because sure, we are indeed 4 points clear, game in hand. I know, I like to repeat that. But we have conceded 8 goals in 3 games. Is that a bit of a concern? We had these 2 draws against Fulham and Newcastle. Is this a problem that we conceded 3 easy goals against Spurs where, let's be real, none of them should have happened. The first goal was error by McAllister, the second goal was just Spurs being smart, and then the third goal was Van Dijk not covering Solanke and Robertson should have blocked the cross. So, question marks there? Context is important. Spurs were just throwing everything forward, so I kind of get that. Kanate obviously being out is a massive blow for our defence, as is Conor Bradley, not having him. Robertson has been out of form, that's more of an individual issue. Obviously the red card against Fulham kind of compromised our results, so I would not say that there's a problem. Of course, this is an issue because we are now the joint best defence alongside Arsenal, conceding 16 goals in the Premier League. But what is concerning is that 8 goals were conceded in 3 games. So we've basically conceded the same number of goals we did in just 3 games compared to the entire season. That is a question mark, but also is down to how a season works. You will have the ebbs and flows of a season. You have better form, you have worse form, you score more goals, you score less goals. So I'm not concerned. It's not like a new pattern where we concede lots of goals. Not at all. Last season we had a pattern of conceding first. We don't see that this season. We see us controlling the game in the first half way better. Just look at the Spurs game. 3-1 halftime, absolutely brilliant. Those first 25 minutes against Spurs were arguably some of the best football I've seen from Liverpool ever in my kind of life. It was phenomenal. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. This team is proving itself to be a title team more and more. So of course, that's just brilliant. Very happy. Plus 21 goal difference. So we're looking solid. We're scoring way more goals than we're conceding. Just for comparison, Chelsea, Arsenal are next at plus 18. Spurs are plus 14. And then you had this massive gap to Newcastle and Bournemouth, who are at plus 6. So obviously, looking at the league table, we are doing very well. Goals, assists, goals conceded, points. Yeah, things are great. But things are not great for Manchester City. As of episode recording, City drew Everton 1-1 at the Etihad, which means it is 1 win in 13 for City. Very, very bad. It is 1 clean sheet in 13 games. And look, we need to ask the question now. Why? Why? What's the point of even analysing this 1-1 game against Everton? It's just like the others. City are being rubbish. What happens to them? Because I almost feel like this all began with the Haaland stay humble here thing against Arsenal, where he rather stupidly said to Arteta, stay humble, after Arsenal made a draw at the Etihad. So this is the question. What is wrong with City? Because obviously I'm joking. Clearly Haaland saying stay humble was not the reason. So why? Why? Well, I will do more kind of detailed content on this and explain why. But to kind of look at it in a more shortened form, well, undeniably, transfer failings. This is undeniable. Undeniable. City's transfer policy in the past couple years, and in particular the last couple transfer windows, has been very poor. We have seen an exodus of world-class talent in Raheem Sterling, Riyad Mahrez, Ilkay Gundogan in that moment in the treble-winning season. Then Laporte, who was very good for them before. Cancelo obviously kind of falling out with the manager and he wasn't replaced. And by the way, he was phenomenal in that 21-22 season. And many more. For instance, Alvarez left this summer and he's a very good player, scored lots of goals for City, was a very reliable backup for Haaland, could play alongside Haaland. And who have City brought in? And that's the problem. You let go of Sterling, you brought in Erling Haaland, sensational, phenomenal, brilliant. But then Riyad Mahrez moves on and you bring in Jeremy Doku. Now you bring on Savinho and Alvarez leaves. You see the problem. The players going out are proven elite professionals who have been, these are top class players. Alvarez being a top 10 Ballon d'Or nominee the season before, scoring double-digit goals. And then you replace him with Savinho, who to this day has 0 goals, by the way. 0 goals. 0. I've already said this in my previous episode. It's crazy how this guy has got 0 goals. It's very bad for an attacker to have 0 goals. It just shows you the kind of problem of letting go of Alvarez for all that money, £85 million, and getting Savinho, who scores 0 goals. You got Jeremy Doku, who doesn't score many goals. Jack Grealish, overall, as a long-term signing, isn't really working out. 0 goals in 45 games for him. Then we look at defence. You bring in Gvardiol, fantastic young centre-back, to play at left-back. You don't even try to get a left-back to replace Cancelo. You don't get any new kind of defenders to replace Laporte, because surely Laporte leaves. He was a brilliant player for City before. Why not bring in another brilliant, top-class centre-back? Why not reinforce those positions? We look at right back. Kyle Walker's aging. You give him a new contract, 2-year extension. Why not start thinking of the future? You got Rico Lewis, who you're also playing in midfield. So is he a right back? Is he a midfielder? I'm sorry, but we are now seeing Rico Lewis not step up to the moment and not be top class for City in a time when they desperately need people to be top class. So maybe he's not the answer, so who is? Their defense is really, really poor. 1 clean sheet in 13 games. Transfer failings. You need to bring in the right players at the right time. And City have not done that. They have held on to some players for way too long, like Kyle Walker, bringing back Ilkay Gundogan, and they've completely ignored signing them. I don't understand why they did not use the last summer window to do stuff. They've got the money, they're earning money, financial fair play should not be an issue. Is it the 115 being a problem where players are potentially unsure about coming to City? I don't know. What is wrong? Is this just a case of Pep being arrogant and saying the squad's fine, we'll win anyways? Potentially, maybe Pep's like, you know what, this squad's good enough, I'll keep it how it is, and you completely ignore the aging. Kevin De Bruyne is in his 30s. as is Kyle Walker. John Stones is 30. Ake and Akanji are already kind of approaching 30 mark and they're aging. Your players are aging. Gundogan's 34. Your players are aging. Bernardo Silva is aging. Your entire team is aging. And you've not sought to make replacements for that. And then we move on to the other problem of injuries, which cannot be used to justify the entire season, of course. I think no one will argue that Rodri being injured is the only reason why. Because Rodri in isolation was a horrible blow for Man City. He is their most important player, and him being injured arguably is what turned the season from just being meh to this being a disaster. Even with Rodri, I would still expect that they will have an underwhelming season by City standards. But what I think triggered a collapse is a lack of Rodri, because he is that world-class player who they're now lacking. No one is stepping up to be a world-class player. Kyle Walker's dropped off, Ruben Dias is not fit, John Stones not fit, Kevin De Bruyne, why is he even on the bench? Edison in and out of the team, injuries as well. Haaland's just not scoring goals, he's being humble. Jack Grealish is not rising to the occasion. Ilkay Gundogan, no idea what's happened to him. It seems like he has really dropped off in terms of pace, in terms of tenacity, just isn't the sharp player that he was when they won the treble. Bernardo Silva, again, not having the impact he is. Jeremy Doku, injuries, inconsistency. Savinho, 0 goals. So fundamentally, the problem is not just the injuries. Of course, injuries are a problem. No Stones, Diaz, Walker, Edison, or Nunes for this game as well. But it's the transfer failings. You need to have a good transfer strategy to replace those players. You can't just rely on players to keep on kind of helping you and carrying you all the time, because eventually you will get found out and you will end up in trouble, which is exactly what happened to City. It's neglecting an aging squad, it's not finding the right replacements, holding on players for too long. The squad got tired, a bit exhausted after 4 titles in a row. Fair play, it does get to you. We saw that with Liverpool in the 22-23 season, where after this kind of quadruple charge the season before, the next season we drop off, no trophies, only a Community Shield, which apparently is now a phenomenal trophy according to the great Mikel Arteta, who credits himself with 2 Community Shields, I think. And yeah, with Liverpool it was a case of just we dropped off, we didn't win any trophies, finished 5th place, had this kind of crisis in the middle of the season where we started to lose, and you kind of fall into a spiral of just losing games non-stop. And until you get some convincing results to turn yourself around, it can't happen. So for City, I would predict it's a case of when Stones, Diaz, Walker, when everybody is fully back and more fit, I guess then we'll start to see things improve. But for now, it seems like City are kind of in a free fall, but an easy run of fixtures, which they have now upcoming, should obviously help them to stabilize, get some things going, regain their confidence and composure, because right now, drawing to Everton at home is a disaster. But luckily for them, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich all coming up next. So some nice, easier fixtures to kind of do better, although Brentford at the G-Tech is a very tough game. So they need to definitely use those upcoming games, Leicester and West Ham, to regain form and regain confidence. But speaking of confidence, Everton, defensive titans, fair play. Look, our Merseyside neighbours, fair enough. We've got to credit them for what they've done. 1-1 against City at the Etihad, Elneny Ndiaye with a great goal, beautiful goal, man-match performance. 0-0 against Chelsea and Arsenal. Very impressive by Everton, really. 5 points clear of the relegation zone, which is not optimal, but they have conceded the least goals out of the bottom 10. 22 goals, tied with Manchester United. They had a very, very poor start to the season, some really, really poor results. Losing to Southampton, absolutely embarrassing, some very bad results. But recently they've had an upturn of form. Their defensive kind of backline has returned to its normality with Jared Brentwaite, Tarkowski at the back. Then we got Mikalenko and Pickford saving a penalty. So we are seeing the Everton of last season come back. After Pickford having a poor start to the season, Brent was injured, Tarkowski was inconsistent, you had some kind of issues at right back, and now you've got the team coming back to full fitness, and now they seem to be going back to who they are before. So well done to Everton, really fair play on that. Also, I want to now kind of just briefly, I guess, talk about Manchester United. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on Manchester United because right now it's a case of it's bottling after bottling after bottling. So I can't keep making videos on Manchester United bottle again, Manchester United bottle again, Manchester United bottle again, because they have. Losing 3-0 to Bournemouth at home again. for the second time in a row. Are you joking? Last season, the exact same thing. 3-0 to Bournemouth at home. Justin Kluivert scores another penalty. It's a great performance by Bournemouth, who were clinical and brilliant and took their chances excellently. Fantastic work by them. Meanwhile, Manchester United were a defensive mess. What on earth was Mazraoui doing? What on earth was their defence doing? Complete mess by the defence. I think, seriously, Harry Maguire is kind of unironically now their best defender because the defensive backline is a complete mess. But it's not just the defence which was a mess, because it was a mess. Conceding 3 goals to Bournemouth in the fashion that they did, simple defensive errors, is unacceptable. But can we talk for 1 second about how wasteful they are? 23 shots and 7 on target for Man United. 13 corners, 4 big chances, 2.28 XG, expected goals, 46 touches in the penalty area, and 60% possession. For all this Amarin style of football, it's, they're going to score goals, he's cooking. Are you joking? 0 goals with all that? That is actually staggering. I'm sorry, I don't like to overly criticize players, but what on earth is Joshua Zirkzee doing? What on earth is he doing? Why did you sign Joshua Zirkzee to be a backup for Højlund, only to then find out that he's not a number 9, that he can't score goals? This guy scored 1 goal, then went AFK for all the season, scored a couple, and now he's gone AFK again. Amad Diallo, despite a stellar performance against Man City, this time was profligate, missed chances, cutting on the inside, Bruno missing chances. Left back still an issue. Seriously, Manchester United have like a chronic problem with left backs, don't they? One of their left backs, Luke Shaw, always injured. Malacia came back finally, doesn't play that well. Dalot having to play out of position just doesn't work. So much like I predicted, the Amarin system is not working as smoothly because, look, it was obvious. This is a team who spent a decade playing a 4-3-3. They've always played a 4-3-3. For the past decade, that's exactly what they've done, right? And now you're trying to change them into a different system when they can't even play a 4-3-3. So not only are they rubbish and in a bad position and out of form, but also in addition, you're now changing the system, which is making things even worse. And you've got the off-field problems with Rashford being dropped again, not in the squad, which only further complicates matters because whether you like it or you don't, whether you disagree with me or you agree, doesn't matter. Marcus Rashford is still Manchester United's one of their best attackers, undeniably. He's obviously a very talented player. He obviously can score goals. And looking at that Man United team and how they don't score many goals, Marcus Rashford fundamentally should be scoring goals. Of course he's not in form. Of course he doesn't really fit the system. But him not being part of the squad is undeniably a blow. It is a problem. It further makes things difficult. Of course it will not explain the Bournemouth defeat. Of course it will not. Some rather ridiculous takes are out there that as if, it's Rashford, he isn't playing and now they're playing badly. No. Come on. Seriously, it's not Marcus Rashford. It's not like Marcus Rashford plays against Bournemouth and scores 4 goals. That's not the reason. But it is a factor. It's one additional factor to add to the problems of Ruben Amorim, who right now, look, you can't blame him. He's walked into a complete mess and he's going to have to sort out the mess. And frankly enough, I don't think he will. I think Manchester United, as I said, I think they will finish the season outside the top 6. I don't think they'll win any trophies. I think they will find a way to bottle the Europa League. And I don't expect Manchester United to be a threat anytime soon at all. So, Liverpool fans, relax. Our rivals will not be threatening us. And I'm looking forward to battering Manchester United on the 5th of January. I think it'll be a nice spectacle at Anfield. Let's see if we can beat the record 7-0. But jokes aside, I think that they will try their best. But look, Amorim's system, oh no. Trying to play attacking against Liverpool, we all know how that ends. Not good for Manchester United. So, interesting stuff going on. Obviously, Liverpool looking on a very strong note. Chelsea challenging but dropped off a little. They are within striking distance. Arsenal keep bottling it. City are actually finished. United are bottling it. And Everton are defensive titans. That is my quick summary of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Tima Baller. Listen out on the other podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Podbean. Thanks so much for listening. I do wish you all the best. Have a fantastic time. I wish you all the very best and see you soon.